All right, here we go. Hope I don't tick off too many people. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, once again to Cast Iron Wednesday. This is a tradition that a lot of YouTube cooking channels have been doing every Wednesday for the past several years now. I've been doing this for about the past 2.5 years, where on Wednesdays, a lot of these YouTube cooking channels we do, well, a cast iron video on Wednesday. And you'll see a lot of people posting videos about cooking in cast iron, cleaning cast iron, identifying cast iron, showing off their cast iron collections, and so on. And why not? There's no rule about it. And in fact, some people do cast iron Tuesday and cast iron Thursday. But hey, it's a fun tradition, cast iron Wednesday, and it's something to look forward to. And it's been an excuse for me to do these live videos every Wednesday. So, hello and welcome again to my kitchen where first of all, as always, I'd like to very much thank people for showing up because that means a lot. I mean, it's fun doing these, but really, it's like having you folks here is really what makes it fun. And so, as always, I mean, hello to everybody. Hello to the folks in the live. Captain Kirk and Rick Stumbow and Neshus River Catfishing, Cast Iron Fanatics, Val's Black Cats Rules, John Agan, and hello, Papa Dan. Hello, everybody. It's Sasa 0805, Clico, Eric T, Debbie, Cynthia Wesley. Quite a few folks. And again, I'm very glad to see all of you folks here because, well, like I said, we're just here to have some fun on Wednesday night, playing around with man toys. Namely, we've got some cast iron pans here, obviously. And the title, as we noted, is tonight we are taking a look at Griswold. Yes, Griswold, that name that everybody knows about when it comes to cast iron, especially if you go and try to buy or sell cast iron. I mean, that's almost all you're going to hear about. You walk in to an antique mall or a flea market vendor, it's like pretty much it's a yeah. I got myself here this Griswold. I mean, this little rusty Griswold numbered this Griswold little ashtray skillet here. It'll only cost you $150. Why? Because it's Griswold. And as some folks may know, I might only be slightly exaggerating about that. I've managed to acquire several Griswold pieces over the past 10 to 12 years or so. I've been lucky in that respect. And if you don't have a Griswold pan in your collection, that's fine. There's no shame in that because not everybody has a Griswold. Not everybody has Le Creuset. Not everybody has a Shun kitchen knife, for instance. So, I mean, it really depends on the luck of the draw, especially considering that Griswold has been obsolete since the late 1960s. So we're talking 60 years. They have not produced any new Griswold pans. So yeah, they're all pretty much vintage. They're all valuable. I mean, anything that's you see the Griswold logo. Well, I already said. I mean, it's like some people consider that to be gold. On the other hand, of course, Griswold, there's a reason why Griswold is considered to be, the gold standard when it comes to cast iron. Because yes, indeed, all the way back as the late 1800s, they were producing exceptional quality cast iron and considered to be among the best cast iron pans ever made because they have everything that people want cast iron to be, uh, nice and heavy, but not too heavy. I mean, glass smooth, and yeah, I think that's where I can start off before going into before answering some comments here. Is that the title? The thumbnail photo I have for this video. That is of a Griswold's Erie skillet that I was lucky enough to find it at a flea market maybe about 6 years or so ago. And I don't have it with me now, I'm afraid. That's one of the few pieces that I did actually sell on the internet over the past decade or so. Um, In fact, going over the pieces that I actually have sold, it seems like the majority of them have been Griswold, and I think the main reason why is no, I'm not a professional cast iron seller, and I'm not selling any pans here tonight. The pans that I show you tonight, like for instance, this number 3 Iron Mountain skillet, which was indeed by Griswold. I'm not selling any of these. These are in my collection, and they're going to stay in my collection for the time being, and who knows when. I'm just really doing this just for the fun of it, and hey, if we all learn something, I mean that'll be great because I'm not really an expert on Griswold. I know a smattering of their history, but I mean, like say for instance, I know a lot of details about Birmingham Stove and Range, my favorite vintage. Make manufacturer. Griswold, not quite as much. I can tell you a few things. Like this one, for instance, is from the Iron Mountain series, which they made in the 1940s. And of course, Iron Mountain is easily recognizable because it has this unique handle. But getting back to what I was saying, that pan in the title photo, as I said, I came across it at a flea market, and I think I ended up paying about $20 for it, which, especially since it's a Griswold, yeah, I know that was not a bad price for it. Especially since that pan, and I will never forget this part, that particular skillet had the smoothest, most glass like cooking surface I've ever encountered in any pans, probably even including modern day pans like Stargazer or Finex, for instance. The thing was like glass under my fingers. Yeah, the bottom of the skillet, as you see in the photo, was in fact it did have sulfur pitting on the bottom. That's what the pitting. That's what the all of the damage is in the center of the pan, and that's fairly common for pans from around that era. We're talking like the late 1800s into the early 1900s. And yeah, that's the thing. That particular one, Griswold's Erie, they actually made for only a few years, or was it maybe about 15 years? They did actually produce a series of cast iron pans that actually had the logo Griswold apostrophe S Erie. And when they made those from like about 1885 to maybe around 1900. Yeah. So that was a pan from before 1900. And yet, I believe Griswold was removing the gate marks from their pans really from the very beginning. I can't think of a single instance of seeing a genuine Griswold with a gate mark. So even then, it had, well, I mean, the undamaged one, that is, would have had a nice, would have had a nice bottom. And as I said, that surface was incredibly glass smooth. And I cleaned that one up and I ended up selling it largely because, well, I get most of my use out of my BSRs and large skillets. And while that was a wonderful skillet, I mean, I realized it would have sat largely unused in my collection. And so that's why I ended up selling that, as well as several other Griswolds I've managed to acquire over time. Having said that, though, one other thing I'm going to be doing. Well, let me say a couple of comments, and then I've got some cooking to do. But yeah. Oh, Marcella, I thought you were saying America. Almost 8 inches of snow here in Colorado in the last 24 hours. Well, it is January. What can we say? Best of luck. So, hello, Corey lurking again. Love the Iron Mountain and the good health skillets. Yeah, they're not quite as unknown as they used to be, unfortunately, because the antique market really, it's like they gobble up anything at all that could possibly relate it to Griswold. And you'll see a fair number of skillets every so often with a label saying possibly Griswold, even if it has nothing to do with Griswold. But that's how it goes in the treasure hunt. I got done restoring. Paul Carter just got done restoring my niece and her husband's number 9 from 1920 to 1930 with heat ring. Oh, congratulations! That is indeed a find. Number 9 was an unusual find. Yeah, which is why I'm proud to own. Actually, check this out. How about a Griswold tight top number 9 lid? And as you can see, here is the Griswold logo on the bottom as well, complete with a this one actually says patented 1920, which means that this had to have been made just in the years after that. So I would indeed date this in the 1920s. This particular lid was a find at where else? The Brimfield Antique Show. And I think I told the story that this came with a one of those fancy handled gate mark skillets that people know about if they know anything about collecting a 19th century cast iron. I got a nice deal in that. I paid $25 for that Griswold lid plus that fancy handled skillet. And I still remember the guy telling me the majority of what I was paying was for the lid. So, yeah, because it's Griswold. Okay, let's see what else. Cynthia, storm just went by my house. Rain should stop soon. And again, best of luck, Papa Dan. And likewise, yeah, torrential rains here in southern Illinois tonight. Well, better than snow at least. Oh, congratulations on the video having 1 million views. Yeah, that's the part, as I said already, I don't understand it. I'm very, very grateful and very glad that it happened. I don't know why it happened. Why did that one particular short video just take off and go viral as opposed to all of the other videos I've done? I don't have an answer for that. Okay, let's get going. As I said, I've got some cooking to do here in these Griswold pans. And there are two things that I've got. One is right here, which I have not turned on the heat yet. We've got a number 3, and this is actually, maybe I can turn it this way. Let's see if I can do this right. You've seen this before, and I've got photos of it. This is a number 3 slant logo Griswold, and I'm just doing this to melt some butter because we're going to be having some cornbread in this tonight. All I need to do is a very, very low heat. This one, on the other hand, I have been heating up because I'm about to do some chicken here, and that means before I actually cook, I better put on my glove. Yay, Christmas present. Nice silicone glove here. And show you that this is in fact a number 10 Griswold, a number 10 large logo Griswold. And yeah, you can see that the flames from my gas stove have given it an interesting pattern indeed. So, okay, but nonetheless, this thing has been heating up nicely. So let's get down to it. And as I said, I mean, please feel free to comment about the cooking and about Griswold. I mean, there's a lot that can be said about Griswold, like the fact that it actually started in the late 1860s. At first, they were not making cast iron pans; they were making things like hinges and other metal objects until as the Selden and Griswold Company, until finally the Griswold Company just bought it out, and then from there, shortly afterwards, their factory actually had a huge fire and they had to rebuild it. This was all in the early 1880s. And then that was when pretty much the famous Griswold cast iron cookware started. So that's why I was glad to find that I always forget something. Forgot my oil here. That's why I was glad to find that Griswold's Erie, because that was, if not one of their very first generation cast iron skillets, it was still fairly old, fairly new, and fairly close to the beginning. All right. Meanwhile, what I've got here, oh yeah, I better get it out of the fridge. In fact, my bad. So we are doing some chicken. So I'm doing a lemon chicken dish here tonight, by the way. This is kind of like in that it's going to be, we start by searing it in the pan, and then we're going to be baking it in the oven. This is a chicken and rice dish, and as I said, it's got a nice lemon flavor to it, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. But the first thing I need to do is move this over a little bit. Here is our chicken. And it mentions here that I should, before this, start seasoning this with salt. So I won't shy on the salt. And some pepper. And then I'll toss it around. And don't tell me, let me guess. I think I forgot my spatula. It always forgets something in the midst of all my prep work. Apologies for that. Digging this out as quickly as I can. Likewise, this. I don't know where that went. Okay, there we go. So much for the delays. All right. Whatever. Okay, now let's just toss this around and mix the. Oh, whoa, careful. Toss this around and mix in the salt. And probably give a little bit more salt on top as well. There we go. And it mentions we're going to do this in batches. So, a wee bit more salt on top. And with that, I also better turn on my fan, which always seems to affect my mic. But what can we do? One more time on this. I've got to readjust my stove. Okay, here we go. Start out with. All we really need to do is brown this chicken at this point. So here's the first batch. There we go. Hi, cooking occasionally until lightly brown. Okay, working in batches, turning occasionally until brown. Got it. About 6 minutes. You know, actually, I should even get myself a second bowl for the cooked or at least browned chicken. Then I'll be able to talk a little bit more about Griswold. But yeah, as I said, in its earliest days, Griswold was producing high quality cast iron, even in its earliest, even in the late 1800s. That's when they did the Griswold Erie series, as mentioned, for about 15 years or so, until around the 1900s. But that's when, for a while, the first thing we saw, of course, was not the famous Griswold logo. As folks know, for several years before, I think about maybe 15 years or so before they started producing their Griswold logo pans, they produced the Erie series of pans, which again, antique vendors certainly recognize this as Griswold. So this particular one, actually, there are Griswold experts there on the internet, especially if you look up things like the Wagner and Griswold Society, who can practically identify almost the exact year a pan was manufactured because of all of the tiny little differences in the details. And they have guides about that. So if you want to take a look at at WAGS, the Wagner and Griswold Society, they again have references that will give you a lot more about the history of Griswold than I possibly could. But nonetheless, the whole point here being just that is that their cast iron pans were wonderful back in the day, and that's one reason why they are so highly prized. Griswold really had a great marketing division because they really acquired a reputation as the Rolls Royce of cast iron pans. You know, Griswold was the type of thing you bought at Macy's, whereas Lodge and BSR and all that, those unmarked pans were the things that you bought at, like, say, Woolworths, for instance. Maybe even Sears. Also, in fact, as you know, Griswold actually produced a line of cast iron for Sears. That was the Puritan series pans. And yes, I actually did manage to acquire a Puritan pan, oh man, almost 10 years or so ago. And that one, if I remember right, I gave away as a prize on the cast iron cooking group. So yeah, it's funny. It seems like while I do have several Griswold pans in my collection, a fair number of them I've ended up getting rid of them in one way or another. And I don't regret it for the most part. All right, so there's one batch of chicken All I know is exit 69. But if anybody here, if you are, did it take long to get that collection? Oh, that's Captain Kirk. I'm sorry. Interstate 80 is closed. Oh yeah, I can understand. Have Captain Kirk. I've been lucky. I have all large logo and small logo except the 2S, 13S, and 20s. 2s, 13s, and 20s. I presume I think I can stop that butter now. That butter is melted, which is what I wanted. I think what you're saying, Captain Kirk, is those are the numbers you don't have, and I would not blame you if that's in fact what you mean. You don't have a 2, a 13, or a 20, because as we know, those are the most rare and most valuable Griswold pieces, even more than their 14. I mean, I've seen the 14 on sale at a number of vendors, flea markets, yeah, not only Brimfield. So it's actually out there, even though, of course, because it's a Griswold, I doubt you'll ever find a Griswold number 14 these days selling for anything less than $500, $600, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are vendors who put it up at $1,000 or so. Why? Because it's Griswold. And yeah, if that seems to be kind of a running joke, yes, you better believe it, because that's the thing. And I've said this part before, namely that in the hunt for cast iron, I am rather sick and tired of going to antique malls and finding almost nothing but Griswold, like maybe one or two overpriced Griswold pieces, maybe a number 8 skillet, usually small logo, occasionally a large logo, and perhaps a Dutch oven as well. And as always, they price them ridiculously. I mean, a Griswold Dutch oven without a lid would probably go for like about, I'm just guessing, $75 at your typical antique mall. And with a lid, well, then we're talking anywhere from $125 to $200. So unless you're lucky and you manage to score it in the hunt. And that's where that comes in again, because again, having a little bit of knowledge, these are extra pieces of chicken. Having a little bit of knowledge, just a little bit, goes a long way in the hunt for cast iron, as we know. And if we can say a few things about Griswold that some folks here may not know and might be able to learn tonight, well, that's all the better. Good. Because, as I said, I'm not selling any Griswold cans myself at this time. So I'm really here, again, to have fun and educate people. Honestly, with no catch. Other than maybe asking you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yes. As I mentioned already, what I have here is a large logo number 10 Griswold. In my Nessus River catfishing, in my area at antique malls, BSR doesn't even stay on the shelves. It's unbelievable. Griswold on the shelf is absolutely rare and, of course, way overpriced. Yes, I know. Ooh, Dave Evely has a number 12 Erie. Congratulations on that. Nice. Did you find those pieces at the flea market in Winsboro? And yeah, I mentioned already, I'm here in the Binghamton area, Binghamton, New York. And about 10 miles or so to the west of me is a very good antique center, the early Owego Antique Center. There is a cast iron dealer there who has a very sizable collection of things like Griswold and Wagner and a lot of other things too, even BSR and Lodge and so on. And yes, his Griswold pieces are very expensive. Arguably not too expensive for an antique mall. So I'll give him that. And besides, any seller really can set whatever prices he wants. I mean, because it's his and there's no law requiring you to set it at any particular price. So those sky-high Griswold pieces, well, as I said, they can really put whatever price they want on them. If the question is whether somebody's going to buy them or not. Here. I mean, I saw, for instance, a Griswold waffle iron at that antique mall, and I think it was selling somewhere on the order of maybe about $135. And I was tempted because now that I have my gas stove, here I am saying that again, I'm really wondering whether I should really seriously look out for a waffle iron and learn how to use it. However, $135 is still $135, and I could not afford to spare $135 on a piece of cast iron, not even a Griswold antique waffle iron. Especially since in the last week or so, I had to have the faucet replaced on my sink. But at least that's done with because, well, it happens. Oh, yeah. So, but I'm hardly the only one in that kind of situation. I realize that. I understand that. That's life. I mean, things like buying a Griswold, for instance, is a luxury. But again, every once in a while, you could get extremely lucky and come across a Griswold piece in the wild, because that's how I actually managed to find my Griswold Dutch oven. Again, in my shorts, only the other day, I posted a video of one of my favorite chicken recipes, namely the 500 degree Dutch oven cast iron chicken video, um, done in a Dutch oven. And that was done in a Griswold Dutch oven, one that I managed to acquire at the Broomfield Antique Show. Again, yeah, you hear that a lot from me. And I paid $10 for that Dutch oven. It did not come with a lid. I literally found it on the bottom of a pile of rusty junk, and it was orange and it was heavily rusted. But I managed to bring that one back to life. I think it took like about at least 3 days in electrolysis to do that. Yeah. So it goes. All right. What did you find out about your gas bill of $2,000? Well, what I found out was, yeah, they actually did finally agree to reduce it to almost $600. Because, as it turns out, there was another billing error, and they did not bill me for 3 months. My last gas came, even though I'm on automatic payments, my last payment, as it turned out, was at the beginning of October. So come January, it seems I had 3 months worth of gas bills. Yeah. Well, at least it wasn't $3,000. Never mind. I'm not here to whine about my personal life. We hear too much of that on the internet. We're here to talk about cast iron. But Turner Fowler, I once saw a Griswold bunt pan for over $1,500. Oh yeah. Is that? I'm not sure if it's the same guy who's been trying to sell a Griswold bunt pan on eBay for the last several years. But if you go on eBay and you look for a cast iron bunt, almost always you will see there is in fact a Griswold cake pan on there. Remember, it's not called a bunt. It's actually just simply a cast iron cake pan. Now, I'm not correcting you. I'm just saying, I know we all call it a bunt pan. But yeah, that one I've seen on eBay going for anywhere from, at one point they slashed the price to $900. Another point I started selling for $1,200. I think they slashed it to 900 when Laundry released its cake pan, and that's when the cast iron bunt pan market hit. Kind of not exactly crashed, but the prices definitely came down. And personally, I think that's a good thing. But yeah, Griswold did in fact make a cast iron cake pan, and I think, yeah, I don't know the date when that cake pan came out, but it would have to have been before the bunt pan became wildly popular in the late 1960s. So that at least proves that that design of the cake pan was made before Nordic ware came out and trademarked the name bunt. All right, what do we have? Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, I see that. I have a Griswold waffle iron with pattern dated June 29, 1880, but the base is missing. It's called the American. Yeah, that is a very famous design of waffle iron. I've seen that. And I think that's the one I saw at that antique center near me for about $135. And as far as I know, it was complete, and it even did have a have the base on it. That's why I was tempted. But as I said, at this time, I cannot afford $135 for a piece of cast iron. Not even a Griswold waffle iron. Anyway, that's step one here of this chicken. This chicken is browned. So now, here comes the next step. All right, let me dig up the recipe. I don't have this recipe memorized. Okay. Oh, here's where we got to dig out. Here it is. Onion. Hey, onion to skillet, cook, stir occasionally, and then we do rice, garlic, and red pepper. Got it. Okay. So now, in this, there we go. In that chicken schmaltz and the extra oil, I'm browning some onions. You know, this recipe called for 3 cups of onions, and I thought that seemed really excessive. So this is probably about half that, maybe about 1.5 cups of onions. I love onions. I love caramelized onions. Not so crazy about raw onions. I'll have them, like say on a hamburger. But cooked onions I love. Even so, as I said, I think 3 cups of onions still seem kind of excessive. This looks just fine. By the way, the recipe did call for a 12-inch cast iron skillet, and that's why I'm glad I have this number 10 Griswold right now. The number 10 Griswold was one of my life lessons, and I've told this story before, so I apologize if you've heard this before. You see, in 2012, 2011, maybe, no, I think it was 2012, when I was younger, it was 12 years ago, no, 11 years ago, and a lot more naive about cast iron. That was when I think everybody gets in this stage when they contract cast ironitis, or at least I hope they do. I really, really wanted a Griswold. And at that time, I was willing to pay the eBay price because I didn't know any better. And because of that, I actually went and got this number 10 large logo Griswold plus lid. And well, I don't regret it because, as you can see, I still have this pan, and I'm glad. But scarcely 2 weeks after I bought that number 10 Griswold from eBay, I went to the Grimfield Antique Show again for the very first time. And I was shocked with what I saw there. I mean, those of you who've been to Brimfield, you know what it's like there. But what I was especially shocked at was that there at the Brimfield Antique Show, I came across, guess what? A large logo Griswold number 10. And it was half the price that I had paid for it on eBay. So that was my life lesson. That was when I learned, in general, don't buy cast iron on eBay. It's usually far, far overpriced. I didn't get that other large logo Griswold because I have this one. So, and that's how it goes. So instead, I've made a point of getting some use out of it. And, well, I have to say I'm glad I did because here we are. Okay, okay, let's see. What do we have now, meanwhile, for other comments? Whoa, what happened? Oh, nothing. I just clicked on the link here. All right, keep on going. Come on, what now? Why am I having stuff? There we go. Okay. William Hurd, I got a number 9 Griswold Type top Dutch oven. Nice. With the wrong lid. Well, what do you mean by the wrong lid? Is it a Griswold lid? Or is it maybe a Wagner lid? Griswold, of course, especially because it's so popular, I mean, naturally, it's compatible with many other less expensive pieces of cast iron, and it's also compatible with Wagner, even before Griswold and Wagner were both bought out by the same company. Yeah, the large, what do we got here? I have a Griswold Small Mark 8 that also says Erie, Pennsylvania. Nice. Yeah, that's good. I mean, you've nothing to complain about. When you're saying small mark, I guess you mean the small logo. The small logo series came out in the 1940s, and it was like that until Griswold was bought out in 1957. There's nothing wrong with owning those. Okay. It was in the 1940s that Griswold was having problems. Problems with its production, problems with its personnel, problems with internal politics. And in fact, in the mid 1940s, the Griswold family actually sold out. They sold the company to an investor group. So that was probably when the small logo series came out, because that would make sense, that they would have made some kind of a big change after going through something major like a new ownership of the company. And there are those who are Griswold experts say the small logo Griswold series is not worth as much as the large logo because supposedly it's not better quality. Well, what can you say about not better quality? It's still superb. Small logo Griswolds, and I have a few of them myself. They are, as you know, they are still wonderful. They still have that really smooth cooking surface. They still are light, very professionally made, and they're definitely a joy to cook with. So if you have a number 8 small logo Griswold, congratulations, and use it with pride. I'm not going to say one bad word about it, especially since I don't have one. Okay, so that's one shiny pan. Am I looking at a 1 or 3 notch large Dutch oven or chicken fryer? Wow, that's impressive in itself, yes. So, but yeah, that's how Griswold's history went. I mean, again, they started in the early 1900s. They started with the slant logo Griswolds, which are considered among the most valuable. Then in the 1920s, they switched to the famous large logo Griswold, which lasted until the early 1940s. And that's when the small logo Griswold came out. Nonetheless, as far as anybody's concerned, it's Griswold, meaning that if you have an opportunity to get a Griswold at a cut rate price, it would be very hard to pass up on it. I don't deny that. Okay, I've taken care of that. So now from here, we add some rice, some garlic, and some red pepper. Actually, I should probably, I don't want to overdo it on the red pepper. So let's just be patient. That's probably enough. And from here, I'm supposed to stir it around for a few minutes and toast it before adding the liquid. So that's what we'll do. Besides, this should mix in with the grease from the pan. All right. And then from there, okay, as I mentioned, this is going to be a chicken and rice dish. Nice and simple, too. As you can see, it has very few ingredients, almost no spices, although there's a lot of lemon juice that's going to go into this. Other than that, all I'm really using is a little bit of red pepper flakes, some garlic, as you see, and salt and pepper. I'm sure if you made this dish, if you wanted to spice it up with your own favorite spices, there's nothing to stop you from doing so. After all, it's your dish, and feel free to spice it up the way you want. I like simple flavors, so I don't mind just going the way the recipe says. Right now, it's almost like a rice pilaf. Okay, I have a muffin pan that says both Griswold and Wagner on the bottom. Yes, you do. That, of course, was from after 1957. Griswold was bought out. No, Wagner had been bought out by, who is it, Randall Corporation in the mid 1950s. And then shortly after that, the same company bought out Griswold. So that was in 1957, as cast iron historians will gladly tell you. So yeah, after 1957, Wagner and Griswold were both part of the same company. And in fact, the Griswold foundry in Erie, Pennsylvania was shut down after only a couple of years. So after it was, I think, 1959, they were no longer making Griswold pans in Erie. They were still making them in the Sydney foundry, the home of Wagner, and they continued to do so for about the next 10 years. For a time in the very end of the 1950s into the early 1960s, they did indeed produce those double label pans, the ones with both the Griswold and Wagner logo. Some people call them, I think they call them Wagwalds, Wagner Griswold. And again, as far as cast iron historians and collectors are concerned, those double logo ones, they're not considered as valuable as the individual Wagner or the individual Griswold. On the other hand, if you just got them for cooking, or even just because you want a dual logo, congratulations again. They are still, and this is going to be really pretty much until the end of their lifespan, they're still wonderful to cook with. Don't hesitate to use it, and don't hesitate to show it off. There's nothing embarrassing about that. After all, it is still from at most the early 1960s. So you've got a vintage pan that's probably at least 60 years old. So show it off. Hey, yes, you do have a Griswold. You've got, in fact, a Griswold Wagner pan. So nice. Yeah, no, I mean, I can reassure anybody here that I can't think of really, there are very, very few reasons why I would ever diss somebody's cast iron. The only reason I could think of is if they themselves were being jerks. And nobody here is a jerk. So regardless of whether you have one Griswold or no Griswold, or if you have the very last Griswold that they produced in the late 1960s, or if you've got a wonderful Griswold slant logo number 13, to all of you, I can only say congratulations. Show off your piece to your friends or on the internet and have fun cooking with it. That's where the fun is. You've got those pieces. Have fun with them. Okay, now that I've done that, now, here they say chicken broth, which regrettably I found out I'm out, so it'll have to be water. Also here, 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And yeah, here's the thing. Won't it affect the seasoning? Well, all of this water and everything else should dilute it to the point where it will not have a bad effect on the seasoning. I hope. Okay, so I've just put in a whole bunch of lemon juice. I said that broth, lemon juice. Little bit, he says here, a little bit more salt. There's my salt. It says maybe about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm not sure if that's 1/2 teaspoon. As you can see, I was eyeballing it. And about another 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Oh, that means right now I can turn off the fan. Good. That should hopefully improve the quality of my audio. Besides, I'm a pepperaholic here. So for me, there's no such thing as too much pepper. All right. But yeah, as I said, regardless of your Griswold status. If you have no Griswold, if you have one Griswold, if you have a ton of Griswold, congratulations to all of you. And there is no shame in it. I mean, heck, I've said many times before, my favorite vintage pans are BSR. So, I mean, I don't use my Griswolds very often. And that's one reason why I decided to do a live video on Griswold here. It's an excuse to use my Griswold pans. So hello, Rick Stumbow. Oh no, other one, Eric D. Slider, if I'm pronouncing that right. I noticed the fan. I've never noticed the fan affecting your audio. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Actually, I just bought a carton of chicken broth. Well, unfortunately, no. But I'm so far. I'm not doing too badly here. My dog has a Griswold Wagner for his food, a Wagwald. It's your cast iron. You can do what you want with it. Let me see. Now that I've done all that, okay. Oh, now I'm supposed to bring it to a boil over medium-high heat. Okay. Let me turn this up. Turn this up a little bit. Probably won't take long to bring this to a boil. In fact, I think it's already starting to simmer. So, at which point then, well, we're just about done because after this, all I have to do is, once this comes to a boil, I put the chicken in and into the oven it goes. So that's good. That means this is just about done. All I have to do is wait for this to boil, which again, I'm betting probably won't be more than another minute or so. Yeah, in fact, I think you can see that I'm already starting to see some boiling there. So the heck with it. Okay, that means get to turn off the heat. That didn't take long. Have I mentioned I love my gas stove? Oh yeah, let me say right now, I am not interested in the politics about they're going to ban gas stoves. Well, number one, no, they are not coming to take your gas stove. Whatever happens in any state regarding gas stoves, they are not going to come into your home and seize your gas stove. If they make any kind of a major change like that, it would have to be on construction of new homes. I mean, they are not going to have some kind of Gestapo that's going to come in and seize your gas stoves. So don't worry about it. And I'm not going to worry about it. You know, several years ago, you may remember there was a rumor going around that they were going to ban wood burning stoves, that supposedly they were going to come and seize your wood burning stove. Funny how that never happened, huh? Yeah, exactly. That's why, as I said, don't worry about it. And I am not going to argue over those stupid politics here. And with that, let me also throw in these extra bits of chicken. Now from here, there we go. At this point, it's time now for the lid for my Griswold. This, as I mentioned, I acquired that Griswold and a number 10 lid. So yeah, I am indeed quite glad to own it. And as I mentioned already, it was my life lesson. I paid way too much for it, but well, since I paid way too much for it, I better get some use out of it. So here we are. Nice skillet lid. Let me move all this stuff back and get this into the oven. Okay. Time to get my gloves out. All right. I also said I was going to make cornbread, and I realize that's going to be a little difficult because this is baking at 350, whereas for the cornbread, I'm going to have to raise the oven temperature. Well, hopefully there'll be time to do both. Right, careful, I don't want to spill it. Oh boy. There we go. And that should only take maybe about, it says here about 35 minutes, but who knows. All right, let's move over here where, yeah, I've got some cornbread mix along with my other Griswold pans that I brought out here so that I'd have a chance to, I guess I could say show these off. Let me put this cornbread mix to the side. Let's see, this can go in the sink. There we go. All right. So, my at this moment, as I've found out, I have about seven Griswold pans, including, as I mentioned, the number 8 Erie, which I showed off recently at Christmas as a special pan. This indeed is a number 8 Erie, which dates to around the year 1905 or so. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And the Griswold and Wagner Society can tell things like the placement of the quotation marks, the model number. Yeah, I don't know all of those details on Griswold. So, as I said, for an exact dating, look up the Griswold and Wagner Society, and they will tell you a lot more about Griswold than I possibly could. And over here, on the other hand, is the Griswold Dutch oven, the one that I used to make that Dutch oven chicken in that video the other night, which I'm actually quite proud of. Man, that is a good recipe. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, I don't. That is a good recipe. That chicken was phenomenal. It was so easy to make. I very, very highly recommend giving it a try and see what you think about the 500-degree Dutch oven chicken. But yeah, this is what they call the Griswold button lid because of this raised Griswold logo here on the top. And this, on the other hand, is a large logo Griswold number 8. This is the one that as I said before, I paid $10 for it at Brimfield. It was orange. It was heavily rusted, and I had to run this thing through the e-tank for like maybe 3 days or so before I was finally able to get this thing restored. But I have loved it ever since, and it is definitely one of my favorite kitchen items. One of, because I've got quite a few items that are my favorite kitchen items. Yes. Um, as I mentioned, I've also managed to acquire a few small logo Griswolds, such as this number 4, if you can see the numbering. Okay. Let me try to get it in the light here. But this is a number 4 small logo Griswold. And yes, I know the number 4 large logo Griswold is one of those incredibly rare pieces that people sell like for $100 or so. On the other hand, yeah, I have it because I was lucky enough to score it as a number 4. I think I paid $18 for it because just that it was a number 4 Griswold, and I figured, okay, on the other hand, here's another unusual size for Griswold, a number 6 uh, small logo Griswold. The thing about identifying Griswold, if it says Erie, Pennsylvania, then obviously, let me try to get the light in again. I'm not sure how well the light is showing up here. If it says Erie, Pennsylvania, then that means obviously it was made in their Erie foundry, and that means it was made before 1959. Some, I suppose you might say before 1957. I don't know all the details of that, but definitely made before the Griswold foundry closed. So those Wagner Griswold pans will not say Erie, Pennsylvania, because they weren't made in Erie. They were made in Sydney, the home of Wagner. And one more, a number 5 small logo Griswold. So yeah, these are all of my small logos. They're all nice, and I like all my other pans. I'm doing my best to try to get some use out of them. It's a little difficult because I have several BSR number 5s that I love using, not to mention the number 5 lodges. So yeah, that pretty much takes up my Griswold collection, I think. And let me see, I've been talking enough. Turner Fowler, to check and see if your skillet is a spinner or not, you can use a credit card and run it across the bottom. Yes, if you have light through the lip, it's a spinner. Yes, in fact, if I remember right, even though this Erie sits flat because of the heat ring, I do believe this is a spinner. So how about this, Turner Fowler? Let me get out a card. Here's my quick fill card. It's not a credit card. Okay, and let's see what we have here. That's interesting. I'm not seeing any light. Let me try that here. I'm not seeing any light on this, which means, this might actually be one of those pans that I think it was just last week somebody said, I've got a pan, and I think it was a BSR, that sits flat when it's cold, but when you heat it up, it spins. And I think this might be one of them because I'm certain I have seen this spin. However, if that's the case, well, that's how it is. So yeah, that is one way that unfortunately a pan will not necessarily succeed with the credit card test, because I'm still certain that this Erie does spin, although apparently it only does so when it's heated up. All right. So try it with a real credit card. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. There's a big difference. I have a carbon steel that only spins when hot. Yes, exactly. So Dixie Foundry Company, Cleveland, Tennessee. Do you have any information on my newfound piece? I know very, very little about Dixie Foundry. I'm very sorry. I've never, I might have seen one. I believe Dixie Foundry is one of those companies that made Dutch ovens with beehive lids. That's about all I know about it. I'm very sorry. I do not have that knowledge. I'm not that much of a geek, regrettably. My apologies. There is a YouTube about a Dixie Foundry. Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Kimberly, they made a bunch mailboxes of all things. Oh, yes. Griswold did make mailboxes. There was a time on the cast iron cooking group when someone wanted to show off his Griswold mailbox. At that time, we told them no because you couldn't cook with it. Since then, on the cast iron cooking group, we changed the rules in that we said that pieces made by the vintage American manufacturers, cast iron manufacturers, would be welcome because, well, why not? I mean, they're not in business anymore. It's not like we would be helping their business by doing that. And that's why on the cast iron cooking group, you do see people cooking in Magnolite aluminum pans, including me. While cooking your 500-degree kitchen chicken, Pawpaw Dan, did any of your old seasoning turn loose because of the heat? Not that I know of. I don't recall the seasoning being affected in that way. Because yes, I did heat it up to 500 degrees, and it did actually smoke when I removed the lid. But then I put the chicken in, and it did give it a nice coating of grease. So I guess that countered it, or maybe added a little bit more seasoning to the pan. I hope that helps. And also checking these comments. If it says made in USA, they are Wagner's. Yes, exactly. I don't, yeah, no. I mean, since again, Wagner went to their made in USA in the early 60s. And at that point, they were already producing Griswolds as well. So, yes, any made in USA Griswold would definitely come from the Sydney Wagner foundry. What else do we have here? It's a number 7, Shelby Rodriguez. It's a number 7 cast iron skillet. War in Ukraine. I saw a tiny Griswold skillet at a thrift store and didn't buy it. When I kicked myself on the back, it was gone. Yeah, that happens to all of us. We can't kick ourselves too hard over it because, well, I mean, you can always say there's always more. So, I mean, there's always more out there. Curious, what's everybody's favorite cast iron number skillet you use for cornbread? In my case, it's a number 7. And I'm looking around and I do not have a number 7 Griswold at this time. I know at least twice I had a number 7 Griswold. Once was a large logo Griswold, but I ended up selling that one. Another one I think was a small logo Griswold, number 7. And that one I distinctly remember giving away as a wedding present. So I can't make cornbread in a number 7 Griswold tonight, which means I'm going to have to make it in the number 8 Erie. And I will do that as soon as this chicken comes out of the oven. For me, it's a BSR number 10 for cornbread. Number 10? Well, then you must be making double batches. Well, why not? I guess you can never have too much cornbread. I love the 8 for cornbread. Number 8, or my BSR wedge for cornbread. Yes, exactly. Yeah, as I said, that video that went viral about the about the BSR cornbread skillet. I've gotten some interesting comments on that one. You might want to check out that on my shorts, the BSR cornbread skillet, and just be sure to bring your popcorn to read the comments. A lot of it is really good stuff. I mean, people really enjoy it. There are a lot of people who actually dissed it and say, there's no real reason to have a cornbread skillet. All you have to do is cut it with a knife. Well, yes and no. I mean, as of course, as you know, cornbread skillet will give you a nice crust on every side of it. So there you go. And then there are the two negative comments that I actually commented on. One about this guy who claims that BSR stole the idea from my people. Well, do you have any references from it? No, but they stole it from my people. Well, then show me some references. And the other was the guy who just couldn't help saying how, oh yeah, obviously Lodge Cast Iron stole their patent. No, they never really got a patent on it. Oh yeah, well corporations real always steal each other's patents. Yeah, so what? I'm not interested. Yeah, those comments are quite interesting. Okay, my brother has a Wag Wild corn stick pan, says Terry Sinchef. Well, I hope you've made cornbread in it, or even brownies. Bets. I started collecting Griswold frying pans in Georgia in the late 1970s. Stuck with small logo because I didn't know the history. Have numbers 3 to 10 and a number 12, 8, and 9 griddle. Wow, congratulations. That's definitely something to proudly display and hopefully use. But I'm not going to dictate what you do with your cast iron. But nonetheless, that is a nice collection. And that's why I say again, if especially if you can get it at a good price, yeah, I can say that the Griswolds may very well be worth it because, again, they are wonderful pieces. I have already said that again, but that's certainly true. I like cornbread with my morning oatmeal. Oh yeah, here's what I do actually with my leftover cornbread, and I do have leftover cornbread because I live by myself. But after the cornbread's been there overnight, I just break it up and eat it like cereal. I crumble it up, put it in a cereal bowl, add some more sugar and milk, and just eat it like cereal. It's like a cornbread cereal mush, and it's good. So that doesn't. I realize it doesn't exactly take a lot of effort to do that. And my son and daughter and families are also collecting now. Yeah, oh, great. There we go. You've just spread cast ironitis to your entire family. I'd like to make cornbread in that lid. Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about. Oh, wait a second. Are you talking about this number 9 lid? That's an interesting idea. I wonder if I could do it. How about we give it a try? Okay. Yeah, okay. How about this? Let's make it a project. As soon as that chicken comes out of the oven, well, I have to heat the oven up to 400. But yeah, I will do this for you. Let's make cornbread in this Griswold number 9 lid and see what happens. I'm curious. All right, that's good and bad. By the way, remember Griswold lids were enameled on the inside. I think Griswold was the only company that did that. They actually put enamel on the inside of their lids, presumably so that they would not rust from condensation, even though I've seen it happen anyway. But let's give it a try. William Hurt. Well, yeah. I'm as I said, I'm not selling my Griswolds at this time. Yeah, number 9 lids. I do cornbread in my Wagner lids. Adds a little seasoning to them. I need that lid. Yeah, thanks, honey, for the thought. And it's gonna be cool. Yeah, I would like to see what happens as well. So yeah. Well, again, we just have to wait until this chicken is done. I should have timed it. It was supposed to be in the oven for like about 35 minutes. Although, of course, you don't, as I've said too many times, don't cook to time, cook to temperature. So, yeah. After maybe 30 minutes or so, I will take the temperature and see of that chicken and see what it's like. I'm not sure what 30 minutes is. I would guess maybe about another 10, 15 minutes, perhaps. Um, yeah, maybe somebody can check this video and see what time roughly did I put that chicken in the oven. Um, did you see my above comments concerning the flea market in Bossier City? Pardon me. Yay, number nine lids. Oh, yeah. Try your cornbread milk cereal thing. Well, it's nice and easy. Granted, if you have savory cornbread without sugar, well, then obviously you'd have to add a lot of sugar to it to make it a cereal. Boy, I'll bet that insulted some Southerners. But what can I say? Um, well, number one, I like making sweet northern cornbread. That's why it also makes a good cereal. And that's about all I'll say about that. Did you create the term cast ironitis? No, I did not. That was actually probably not too long. I must have been just around 2011, only several months after I got into this, and I was heavily bitten by the bug. That's when I visited the National Dutch Oven Gathering for the first time. And for a while, I made friends of some of the regulars there. And yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's right. In fact, there was a dog, a Dutch Oven Gathering in Massachusetts, a small one. And I was asked to provide cast iron for it. And I brought a few Dutch ovens, and we were talking about cast iron. And that was when somebody commented to me, "Uh-oh, you've got cast ironitis." So, no, I did not invent the term cast ironitis. I will not take credit for it. I will take credit for gathering that list together. You might have cast ironitis if. Yes, I will take credit for gathering that list. But that is entirely based on observation. I mean, I enjoy that list because, well, I try to make it as truthful as possible. Okay. I just sent 5 pieces of lodge set and other goodies to my cousin in Idaho. Nice, congratulations, Turner Fowler, Sasa 0805. My husband has cast ironitis. What else does it say? He wants me to get rid of my non-cast iron pans. Well, who am I to argue with him? As I've said, I mean, yes, all of my pans in my kitchen are cast iron with one exception. My aluminum Wagner Magnolite Dutch oven, which I love using for boiling water, making rice, and making pasta. So that's my comment. I had Yankee cornbread for supper tonight, Pawpaw Dan. Some of us Southerners do like it. Well, yeah, well, thank you very much. I'm off tonight. Brain is in a fog. Well, good night, Debbie, and I hope you're feeling better. Rick, like grits, sugar don't go on grits. Oh yeah, exactly. There you go. I guess that's what you would call non-sugar or southern cornbread mixed in with milk. I guess then you've got grits. Okay, on the subject, hello, smoking gun or ex gun X. Terry Sinchaf, a friend's grandpa had cornbread every night after dinner. He broke it up in a bowl with buttermilk and sugar. Well, I'm not doing buttermilk, I'm doing just milk. Um, Although I am going to use buttermilk to make this cornbread. But anyway, yeah, as I said about the subject, Griswold. Well, as I mentioned, Griswold, well, again, the 1800s, they were producing fancy cast iron without a gate mark. I'm not sure if they were the first major company to make their cast iron without a gate mark, but I cannot recall seeing a single genuine Griswold pan with a gate mark on it. As I mentioned, not even those ones that said Griswold's Erie from the late 1800s. And then, of course, was the Erie series. And speaking of the Erie series, I'm sure you've heard of one of the holy grails of cast iron. There are two Griswolds that I guess you could call the holy grail of cast iron. One would be the number 13 large logo or slant logo Griswold. The other would be the spider Erie. And those of you who know, you know. That, of course, was that Erie skillet that actually has a spider web Erie logo. And I do know I don't have one, but look it up. You can go to our friend Google, and all you have to do is look for a picture Erie spider, and you will almost certainly see it. And we actually, again, on the cast iron cooking group, somebody actually came across one of those at a Goodwill. They came across a very crusty and very dirty cast iron skillet. He recognized the Erie, cleaned it up, and yes, it actually turned out to be an Erie spider logo. And then he discovered it had a crack. Oh, uh, well, it was nice anyway, and it still makes a good display pieces. Yeah, it's argued that if you had one of those cracked, you could probably still sell it to collectors for like several $100s or so, maybe to a museum. But that's not my. Why so rare? Because they didn't make many of them. That's about all I know. I mean, again, Griswolds are so expensive because they are, well, generally rare, but also because they're such high quality. But yeah, the Erie spider is definitely rare, just like the 13 large logo or slant logo Griswold. If I remember right, they actually did not make the many of the 13 because of the superstition, 13 being an unlucky number. I'm not sure if it's actually they refuse to make 13s, but I would suspect more likely it's a business decision. Because of that superstition, not many people would buy a 13. So they didn't make many of them for that reason. It's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg? And I don't have an answer for that. That cornbread isn't going to make itself. Yeah, I know. But I have to wait for the chicken to come out of the oven because the chicken is baking at 350. As soon as it comes out, I'm going to raise the oven temperature to 400 or 425. I forget what my recipe says. But I have to do that. So I have to wait for the chicken to come out of the oven before I make that cornbread, unfortunately. I'd love to make it now. I've got time to make it now. And in fact, I've already mixed together the basic ingredients in that here is my bowl of dry ingredients. And over here, I've got some buttermilk, some honey for adding to it. And I even have an egg, and this egg is actually going to be at room temperature too. So, yeah, I'm all set to make some cornbread. Be able to do this nice and fast. But I just have to wait for that chicken to come out of the oven. I know they say good things come to those who wait. So start heating the lid. Yeah, I could do that. Okay, why not? Let's put this lid in the oven. Thank you for the suggestion. I will go with it. All right. Okay. Let me see how I can do this. Can't seem to reach it. Okay, you know what? Um, for the moment, how about this? I think I will. Oh, let me do this right. I will put this lid on the stove and turn on the gas at very, very low heat to start heating it up that way, but very low heat. There we go. And now back to this. What time is it? Maybe I should probably check the chicken, check the temperature of the chicken. Okay, there's something. Let me see. That means I get to dig out one of my trivets. Where are the? This is a large pan, so I've got to dig out a large trivet for that. Here's one. And let's get out my trusty thermometer. This is dark meat, so technically it can be done at 165. I prefer heating dark meat to like 170 or 180 myself. but that only dark meat. But let's see what it looks like. Oh, good grief. Okay, I'm going to have to do this two-handed. Partly because this silicone glove, well, I don't want it to slip. So let's do this carefully. Oh, there we go. Up, up, up. Just putting it on the stovetop right now. And now I will move it over to the camera. Here it is. Ugh. Ugh. All right. Well, that doesn't look too bad. It's because it's covered that there's not much of a, yeah, it's not, it doesn't look as crisp as it should. In fact, maybe I should put it back in under the broiler. Okay, let's check the temperature. See what we have. 167, 174. Oh, well, there we go. That didn't take long. 180. Okay. Well, that's good. Just like that. In fact, that means the first thing I should do is let me turn this right up right now. Bake. I think it's 425. Let me confirm that by looking at the recipe. Start. And let me turn off the heat. In fact, let me go over here. There we go. Let's turn off the heat on this. And because I've already been heating it, it's already hot. Let's put this lid in the oven. Anyway, as you can see, all I need to do is stick the lid between the grates. Okay, but back to the chicken. Nonetheless, you know, what I could have done is uncovered it, I think, probably, and let it brown a little bit more on the top. Still, we've got chicken rice right here, so I'm not complaining about that. Okay, but meanwhile, as I said, this chicken was made in a Griswold number 10 large logo skillet. And as far as cooking is concerned, you could easily make this in a Griswold number 10 small logo skillet. You could even make it, of course, in a Lodge number 10 or a modern day Lodge 12-inch pan. Either way, it will still cook wonderful. Which, of course, comes back to what we've been discussing, namely that you can have, Griswold is considered the highest quality cast iron ever made. And there are a lot of good reasons for it. But of course, any brand of cast iron will perform wonderfully in the kitchen. Griswold does have some nice advantages, namely it's glass smooth surface as we said before, but it is and that's why I am glad to have these Griswolds, especially the Griswold Dutch oven. Okay, I've talked enough. Let's get some cornbread done here. That means I need to move this out of the way. Always something. I'm going to put this thing back on the stove right now. But anyway, meanwhile, as I said, that this was a recipe, by the way, again, of chicken and rice, nice and simple. And one of my favorite dishes, in fact, is making Dutch oven chicken and rice. So, but I like the way this one was made with a lot of lemon juice. So I'm looking forward to trying that. However, get this out of the way. Now, let's quickly. By the way, was that supposed to, I honestly don't remember. I've been using this recipe for so long and I don't remember if it's um, supposed to be 400 or 425. And as the oven is heating, it is 425. Okay, and I am heating it to 425, so we're good. All right, now, then let's get this going as quickly as we can. Wow, it's just gone off. It's already at 425. I love this gas stove. Okay. I'm running back and forth here. Let me grab my spatula. All right, now that we've done that, we add wet ingredients, and that would be buttermilk, egg, and butter. Okay, good. So here is a cup of buttermilk. Is this thing centered? Now it's centered. Here's a cup of buttermilk. Here is 1 egg. Yes, go ahead and make your egg jokes. Jokes, not yolks. Well, yolks too. Namely that, oh my God, I just had to take out a loan to get that egg. And this, well, that's still hot. Great. Let me get the glove here. The melted butter. All right. Hopefully it's not too hot. In fact, I think I better mix the egg in before I put in this melted butter because I don't want to cook the egg. So let's stir this together as best as we can. That means, of course, we've got to work it in from the edges. There we go. And yes, like I said, this is sweet cornbread because I like sweet cornbread. I'm the one eating it. And yes, I'm a Yankee. So, but I have had and I like Southern cornbread as well. I just grew up eating sweet Yankee cornbread. Okay, now comes the butter. Oh, that's not so bad. Yes, it is. Ouch, ouch, ouch. That was a mistake. Okay. All right, there's the butter. And let me see, at this point now, all we have to do is we just start adding enough. Oh, wait a second. Forgot. Got to get that lid and put some oil in it. So get out that trivet once again. My bad. Oh, I keep forgetting things. Ugh. Hope I'm not getting memory problems. Okay. Here's the lid. How am I going to do? How am I going to pour the batter into this? That's going to be interesting. All right, but let's carefully put this on as best as we can. And I don't want to spill this either. In fact, I think I know what I'll do. Let's dig out the basting brush. And put this over as best as we can. Careful. This is hot. And again, I don't want to spill all this. Meanwhile, we'll put this back in the oven for another couple of minutes. There we go. Careful. I know I keep saying this, but yeah, careful. Or as they say in The Princess Bride, gently. All right, do this right. There we go. Hey, that worked. There we go. Now, back to the cornbread. All right, now all I have to do is start mixing in milk. So let me grab the milk. Still not sure how I'm going to be able to pour that into that lid. I'll have to figure something out. Okay. All right, that's one other thing I've learned about mixing liquids into batter here is that you have to do it a little bit at a time. If you do it this way, you actually use less liquid because it looks like I may have already put in just the right amount. This actually doesn't look bad at all. This isn't bad. Maybe just a tiny dash more of milk. Not much, but just a wee bit. And that should be enough. Oh, I think I know what I'll do. I don't know if you can call this clever, but what I'll do is put the milk back. That's what I'll do. Then let's do this. Let's get a second trivet. Put this next to the first one. and we'll lay it down with the handle in between here, in the center here. That should work. Let me make some room here so that I don't cause any more of a mess than I'm probably going to. Need to move this, move that, and especially watch this. Okay. Also, my phone. Get that out of the way. Yeah. All right. And then from here, well, I think we're about ready. Let's put on the gloves. See if we can do this. All right. Yay for these gloves, though. I'm quite happy to have these gloves. Okay, number one, pour the extra batter into here, extra oil that is. Lay this down in the center. Push these aside. Hey, that might work. I think we might have it. All right, one last thing with the basting brush. Let's mix up the cornbread batter here. That extra oil in. And cross our fingers. Let's see what happens. Please don't go all over the place. And I hear the sizzle. This thing is starting to go towards the side. Yikes, excuse me 1 second. Let me see if I can adjust this. Maybe if I turn it around, perhaps. All right, let's, great, I spilled some. Oh, well. Damn it. Getting this all over the place. And yeah, I can see it's up at the edge. Yes, I can see that. Straighten this out. There we go. That worked. Okay. Maybe I can get the rest of it in there. If I can get this thing on the rack of the oven, I think we're home free. And at the same time, I don't want to make any more of a mess than I'm already making. But let's put our camera back over here by the oven so that you folks can see when I screw it up. And do this quickly. Gonna have to leave the oven open for a moment. Here it is. Ha! Got it. There we go. Now we just wait. And I hope I didn't lose all the heat in the oven by leaving that open for so long. Okay. Phew. Now that we've done that, let's get another view of our Griswolds here, because that, again, is supposed to be the whole point. Let me move these things out of the way. Oh, that's not too hot. I can do this. Let's put this in the sink so that we can get another view here of the Griswolds. Yeah. Cooking with the Griswolds was the title tonight because, yeah, that was meant to be kind of like a pun. You know, Clark, what have you done now? Okay, set the timer, set the timer, set the timer. Okay, it's supposed to be 30 minutes, but basically we cook it until done. So it is right now 9:29. So I can check this like maybe in about 20. Well, considering we've got it spread out so much on that lid, I'm betting it may very well be done faster. So maybe in about 20, 25 minutes. Well, we'll check it and see. Yeah, when it's toothpick ready. All right. Glad you didn't glad you didn't drop the lid. Yes, exactly. So, oh man, that would not have been fun. I would have been inventing new words. That's what we always said about my dad. He was inventing new words. Use the spoon. The spoon is strong within you. It's not cast iron. Everything going Yeah, I know. It's cast iron chaos. Yeah, it wouldn't be cast iron chaos if something didn't mess up. But so far, we haven't been doing too badly. However, that recipe for the lemon chicken, while I have no doubt this chicken is going to taste good, I am regretting that I did not remove the lid for a few minutes to brown it up. Let me move that pan over here. As I said, I know it's going to taste good. I have little doubt about that because it's chicken and rice. How could it not taste good? But I should have removed the lid or put it under the broiler or something to make it brown a little more, and get a little crispier on the top. Oh well. Anyway, toothpick test. Oh yeah, who made those trivets and where did you find them? Trivets. This one is a 1999 China. It is a made in China trivet. So that's about all I know about it. The other one, however, and this one I'm actually kind of proud of. It turned out it's a John Wright. So it's from Pennsylvania. But yeah, I got this trivet here. Oh, I can't keep this pan up very long, but I got that trivet there because of its cool looking design. It actually, from the way it's designed, it makes me think of H.P. Lovecraft or Cthulhu. It's got that creepy octopus tentacle type of look to it. It makes me think of Cthulhu. So I could not resist finding that, especially since I found it at an antique mall for $10. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah. And then later on, and I think it was at Brimfield again. I keep saying Brimfield. Well, I learned so much at Brimfield that I saw the exact same one, except that that one had the John Wright logo on the bottom. This one does not. So that would have to mean that that particular trivet is, in fact, a John Wright. So yeah, I'm quite happy about that. But anyway, those are the trivets. One is a made in China, the other is a John Wright. Hi, Cynthia. I have two tall ones. I love them. Last week's fine. Oh, that sounds like you've been doing good on the hunt. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Okay. All right. But anyway, that's the answer of who made those trivets. Now, on the other hand, let me see. I told the story already about my number 10 Griswold being a life lesson. This eerie skillet, I'm also proud of because I believe this was one of the very first times I ever went antiquing. And in fact, it was in mid-state New York. Maybe there's an area somewhat to the north of Binghamton that is, what was that? Oh, I just tongues. There's an area to the north of Binghamton in mid-state New York, rural area, that is almost like an antique heaven in that I found this, and I paid $10 for this eerie number 8. And this was when I'd only been in this thing for a few months, and I didn't even realize what an incredible find that was to find this for $10, especially since it turns out seems like it's not. It even does sit flat, except when it's heated. Now with this Erie, you notice this Erie here has this little divot or notch or something on the bottom. Maybe that's why it was selling so cheap. Except that it does not go through all the way through the pan. It's completely fine on the other side. I've been using this Erie now for the last 12 years, and I certainly have not any problems with it. So yeah, I'm quite glad to own this one. This particular one is definitely going to be an heirloom. So I can only say there, um, what I say every time when it comes to the hunt: have patience and keep on looking. I can't give you any more advice than that because, as everybody knows, I'm betting I could say, everybody, raise your hand if your greatest cast iron find was completely unexpected. You just literally stumbled on it out of the blue without expecting it. And I'll bet everybody here would raise their hand. That certainly includes me. And I'm not just saying simply because I found a lot of my good pieces at Brimfield. I mean, you remember I found a cast iron bunt pan at Brimfield. Was I expecting it? Hell no. I'm so glad to have found it. Likewise, as I mentioned, that Erie number 8, or the Griswold Dutch oven, or a number of the other pieces in my collection. None of them I expected to find. All of them were completely unexpected. The number 8 Erie has only one pour spout. Unfortunately, no. It definitely has two pour spouts. So it's a pretty standard design for a pan, except that it's a Griswold and it's exceptional quality. So, but no, the only single pour spout pans I've seen have been unknown gate mark pans. But yes, exactly. Have patience, will travel. Hey, boy. Yeah, have gun will travel. I do recognize that. But yes, so that's really the only advice I can give among the about the hunt. I mean, everybody says this. I live in an area where cast iron is extremely rare. I'm never going to find a Griswold. Well, have patience. It'll happen eventually someday. I can't say when. Maybe you'll go on a road trip. Maybe you'll go to an estate sale. Maybe you'll just be incredibly lucky and go to an antique mall and find something that the seller doesn't recognize. Like, for instance, the Red Mountain series here, Red Mountain, Iron Mountain series, which we've talked about. As I said, it has a very unique handle, and it has the slanted font of the numbers here, so it's easy to identify if you know what you're looking for. Or even the Good Health series, or even the Puritan series that Griswold made for Sears Roebuck. You never know. Just keep an eye out for it, and eventually it'll happen. Heck, I mean, another great score I made. I remember there's back in Worcester, Massachusetts, which I've said many bad things about Worcester, Massachusetts, and I mean all of them. There was a flea market in Worcester, Massachusetts that was essentially where garbage pickers came to sell their wares. And yet, every so often, I made a really good score at that place. It was at the Worcester Flea Market that I found a Griswold Victor number 9 in excellent condition, and I paid $5 for it. So I ended up giving that one away because one of my coworkers, his name is Victor. Well, it was until he retired. His name's still Victor, but now he's retired. So yeah, when I saw that, I thought I would give it to him as a present because his name is Victor. I'm not sure if he understood how valuable that gift was, but I'm not regretting it because I only paid $5 for it. So I understand it's a valuable pan, but I didn't really lose a lot of money, and that's why I didn't mind giving it away as a present. So, so yes, definitely, just have patience and keep on hunting. You never know what you're going to find, and it can happen to anyone. For a lot of people here, it happened to you when you least expected it. Hmm. Let's take a look at that cornbread here. I don't think the oil spread very well on the sides of that lid because it looks like oh, nuts. Let me move this over here. Sorry, just trying to get a good view of this. It looks like I think that's good. It looks like the cornbread is sticking to the sides of that pan, unfortunately. Looks like I'm going to have to cut it out. Well, that's all right. If it happens, then it happens. This was an experiment anyway. But we will see what happens. In another few minutes, I think I'll be able to check that cornbread and see if it's anywhere close to done. I think that size sauce pot, I need that size sauce pot for my new lid. Dubs on the trail. Watch out. I joke about liking inorganic items as they last longer. Oh, yeah, exactly. I carry a flashlight and magnifying glass on my hunt now. Yes, I keep a tape measure in my car for exactly the same reason. For measuring things when I find them, obviously. Um, but yeah, mine are free range. Maybe you should put up some chicken. People not really. Never mind. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that tip. And chocolate. Okay. Well, still on the subject of Griswold, as I mentioned, folks here, if you have something special in regards to Griswold, please feel free to mention it. I'm sure folks would like to hear it. Somebody here mentioned that they have a Griswold waffle iron, although they're still looking for the base for it. Here's something. Let me recommend a Facebook group to you. A Facebook group called Iron Man Cast Iron Auctions. That is probably the best and most honest cast iron selling group that I know of. Let me repeat that name again. In fact, let me even type that into the chat here. Let's do that right now. Iron Man Cast Iron Auctions. Anyway, look for that name on Facebook because that is run by, well, Facebook's cast iron community, many of which are good old folks like you and me, and some of them are real experts. That group knows it's cast iron, and they also really make an effort to be fair to everyone. So there are no ripoffs on that group as far as long as they can help it. It does mean that you're not going to find an incredible bargain. You're not going to find, like, say, a Griswold number 12 for $5 on that group. On the other hand, you're also not going to find a Griswold number 8 for $200. You'll probably find, because it's an auction, you would probably end up paying anywhere from $40 to $50, I think, for a Griswold number 8, which is actually a lot better than you would find it at an antique mall. So again, look for that group, Iron Man Cast Iron Auctions, and again, it is on Facebook. So I hope that helps. And yeah, tell them I sent you, but that won't really get you any special privileges. However, I'm more than happy to plug that group. Okay. Shipping and handling is the killer. Yes, exactly. That's always the case. How are Trouble and Miss Mobley? Well, they're doing pretty good. There I had an electric water fountain for them that worked great for the last few months until last Saturday when it suddenly shorted out. So I had to get a new water fountain. And I'm not sure if they're using it. This new water fountain makes a definite humming noise, and I'm worried that it might be spooking them. So I have their water bowl next to the water fountain, and I'm just checking to see if there are any signs that they're actually drinking from it, and I certainly hope they are. All right. Anyway, bald guy in the window. That's probably me. Okay. All right, how are we doing on that cornbread at this point? Cornbread looks a little light. Give me another 5 minutes, I think. I mean, it is starting to crack on the top, so that's good, but it looks kind of light right now, and I want it to get darker before I try taking it out. I've got this nagging feeling that it's going to stick. But as I said, if it does, then it does. Okay, I do have a very nice Griswold waffle iron. I have very vague memories of being like 3 years old and going to visit my grandparents, and they used a waffle iron. And I'm just thinking that it was in fact a Griswold. And I can only say that's kind of like some gut memory telling me that the Griswold logo was what they had. I can't, I'll never know because it's just memory, but I seem to think that my grandparents had a Griswold. Oh, well. You know what else my grandmother once had? If I'm not mistaken, and maybe I'm wrong, I think Griswold, no, it couldn't have been Griswold, but I seem to recall having memories of a Griswold hibachi grill, like the Sportsman grill, and having the Griswold logo on it. However, I do not have any memory of them actually using it. I'm thinking it was one of those kitchen items that my grandmother got my grand no, my grandfather got my grandmother, and she never did anything with it. And they ended up sticking it under the back porch until it rusted away. Again, it's a very vague memory, but if somebody could confirm that Griswold actually made a grill like the Sportsman grill, maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Good night, Dave, Evelyn. Yeah, I recognize we're running kind of late here. Give me just another couple of minutes and then we'll check the cornbread. If the cornbread is ready, then we will call it a night. If you find a Griswold waffle iron, maybe you could trade for it. Well, there is that possibility. I do have a few things in my giveaway pile. I could maybe get credit on it. Let's not neglect. Yeah, my dog likes food, Cynthia. That won't work. Okay, let's see what we've got now. I mean, this is 425, so it still looks kind of light. But let me bring that out once again. Let me move this chicken. It's warm, but it's no longer going to burn my hand, thank goodness. Okay, let's set this up again. And let me get out a toothpick too, so that we can test it. All right. Make sure this is okay. I know you want to see this, so all right. Where did my gloves go? Here they are. Gotta get the gloves back on. And let's see what happens. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because even though the top is light, oof, sides of this thing are definitely brown. Let me do this right. Anyway, here is our cornbread. And starting to get a couple of dark spots on top, so maybe it's done. Well, let's find out with the toothpick. Boy, it's almost like a UFO. And hey, I think we're done here. Let me put it in over here. We're good, folks. I'd say we've got ourselves some cornbread. So maybe a tiny, but that's really nothing. I think we're good. And in fact, even though it looks like it's actually coming around the sides, so we may very well be good. Okay, give it about a minute, and here comes the real fun. Is this going to work? Well, there's only one way to find out, as the saying goes. And then after that, we'll call it a night. And I can like thank everybody once again for being here all this time. Because, yeah, it is a Wednesday night. I recognize that. And once again, I think this is the second week in a row I've been running late. Okay, but we'll do this as quickly as we can. Here we go. Use this. It's still a hot pan. Oh, yeah, very hot pan. Okay, I don't want this thing to fall on the floor. Let me get my glove back on. Here it is. So that I can actually grip this thing. There we go. Hey, you know what? That's actually looks kind of promising. Well, here we go. Moment of truth, as I like saying. Actually, let me get my other glove on. I've learned my lesson enough times about handling hot cast iron. On the other hand, I don't want to break this dish either. You know, this dollar store plate. Come on. There we go. I hope. Ugh. And it's sticking. Yep, it's definitely sticking. Oh, yep, it's stuck. Oh, well. That's life. Well, It was an experiment. That's the best I could say, unfortunately. Oh, pity. Because, yeah, I would have liked to have seen it with the Griswold logo on it. Well, now that we've done that, oh, it's still sticking. Sorry. So we're kind of 1 and 2 tonight. This thing is badly stuck, unfortunately. This thing, there's no way this is going to come apart. Sorry, but it was an experiment. So that's how it goes. However, at least we made some chicken, and I enjoyed talking about Griswold. So yeah, once this thing cools off a little bit, I guess I will make it into pieces, and then we will have some, well, like I said, some cornbread mush cereal. Oh well, should have let it cool. Usually, Rick Stumbaugh, usually I can pop this thing out of the pan almost immediately. When I make this in my good old cornbread pan, my gate mark lucky number 7, I can, as I said, I can pop this thing out of the pan almost immediately. Oh well, loining coy, yes, exactly. So I'm not ashamed of this. As I said, this was an experiment. I had no idea what was going to happen, and so it just so happens that it didn't work that well. Oh well, like I said, I'll break it up and we'll just eat it that way. But there we go. This has been Griswold night here. So and as always, I can only hope that folks have been interested. I mean, here we are. It's almost 10 p.m., and yet we still have 118 people watching this. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much for showing up. And as I said, as always, I do my best to entertain you folks because it's fun. I enjoy doing this. This is a lot of fun for me. And the reason why it's so much fun is because of you folks. You folks here with your comments and your snarky bits. And yeah, I appreciate all the snark and the criticism, at least honest criticism. Because if nobody told me what I was doing wrong, I would keep doing it wrong. So I appreciate honest criticism. And above all else, as I've said enough times, we're here to have fun. I'm not here to enter some kind of a baking competition, which I would obviously lose miserably. So it's just fun. And this is really the reason why I enjoy cooking in the first place, because it's fun. And you folks are what make this fun. So I can only thank everybody for showing up here. And yeah, as I say, as is here's where we do the old romper room mirror and say hi to everybody again, to Howard and Mike M and William Hurt, Rocket Caver, Cynthia Wesley, Val's Black Cats Rules, and Rick Stumbauer and Kimberly Miller. Thank you everybody for showing up because as I said, my talking here and my rambling and talking on and on and on and on is normally I don't talk this much. I seem to do this here on these live videos because, well, it seems to help fill up the air time, and I can only hope that you folks enjoy it. So we will wrap this up here, and let me turn off the oven. And besides, I've got some chicken and rice to enjoy. So yeah, this is going to definitely feed me for the next few days, I think. And I can only thank everybody though for being here because really, as I said, you folks being here is why this is so much fun. And I can only thank everybody for showing up. And well, we will do it all over again next week. So, as I like to end this always on a quote from my favorite movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey. See you next Wednesday. Have a good evening.